After watching The Batman, I was itching for more of the Caped Crusader. Then I remembered, I had a Batman game collecting metaphorical dust in the dark corners of my Steam library. I always had an undefined opinion of the Arkham games. Mixed is probably a better word. I remember liking Arkham Asylum, but I was never blown away overall. Likewise with Arkham City. In some aspects they shined, but overall didn't leave much of a lasting impression in my gaming experience. I remember them as somewhat clunky games. Nothing spectacular, but generally fun and well made. I can't say I found Arkham Origins any different years later. However, by the end I found myself genuinely enjoying it. Origins was never spectacular, but I enjoyed it. I had fun, it had my interest, I liked the world, I liked the music, and I look forward to playing more every single day. I was actually bummed when it ended. I wanted it to keep going. I immediately bought the Cold Heart DLC, and when I finished that, I was still itching for more content. I'm usually not a fan of DLC, but the foundation of this game was so solid, it just felt like a waste for it to end. I feel like this world and game deserved more content, more side missions with fleshed out stories. Take the nightclub as an example. A perfect location to flesh out the lore of the criminal underworld infecting Gotham. But it just felt underutilized. I wanted more of that, but with patrons, mobsters, and story-driven missions. Unfortunately, it was just an empty room with a couple of generic NPCs, just like the rest of the city. The whole does outweigh the sum of the parts with this game. However, even though I personally liked it, I'd still have to describe it as mediocre. I don't mean to sound negative of the game, but there's no way around it. Batman Origins is a mix of fantastic and mediocre elements. It feels like the game exists between two eras of gaming. The scale and the vision of the game feels a lot closer to modern games, but the implementation of the game mechanics feels like game design of a much older generation. The freedom you have in such a big environment is great. There's always enemies and crime to stop, with the radio scanners giving you a sense that the criminals are living their own lives. But it really is just surface level detail. The repetitiveness becomes apparent quickly. It's just NPCs standing around with a finite amount of dialogue. They aren't ever doing anything, just standing. The mixture between the open world and the linear crafted missions felt seamless. A great execution of two totally different game styles blended into one experience. The atmosphere was also well crafted. The Christmas lights on the apartment windows, mixed with the music and snow, felt so nostalgic to me. On the other hand, the models are kind of wonky looking. Generic at best, but really, they're just mostly ugly. Nothing really looks great. The lighting is bland, and the city is entirely devoid of civilians. The map and waypoint also led to some real annoyance at times while trying to find specific spots in the big city.
No, you have to answer to me.
The way the abilities fit into the campaign felt so gamey, and it took me out of the experience a lot at the start. It's like, oh, how convenient, a random wooden wall is here. Or, oh, how convenient, a gigantic oversized handle for my back claws on the wall. They are all so out of place. It feels very cheap and on par with like early 2000s game design. Assets are copied and pasted the entire game. There are a ton of reused identical assets, like identical. Thankfully, once you get a hang of the utilities and gameplay, it's really fun and you just look past all that stuff. I've never been a fan of this style of combat gameplay. I know it's a fan favorite and even copied by other successful IPs, but I never cared for it. This game, however, won me over. Being able to mix your utilities via quick-fire, mid-fight combo was a stroke of genius. I really like the scoring and grading you get for every fight sequence. It got me hooked in the combat. I would get annoyed when I wouldn't get an S or an A ranking, because I knew I could do better. Getting hit would lead me to a sense of disappointment in my lack of awareness. Unfortunately, by the time I started really feeling free and comfortable with the complex combat, the game ended. With all the variations, it's easy to get flustered and fumble buttons in a fight. The variety of the enemy types, the variety of the quick-fire utilities, the timing of the strikes and the counterattacks, It gives you a lot to practice. Much like Doom Eternal, it's a lot, but once your muscle memory takes over, it's a ton of fun mixing it all together. While browsing online, I came across a lot of hate for Origins. I haven't played Night, and it's been such a long time since I played Asylum and City, so I can't compare Origins to those. I can only talk about Origins on its own merits, and to me, the bad reputation is unwarranted. Arkham Origins is fun. It's solid. It's not groundbreaking, but everything works well and makes for a really enjoyable experience. The story was pretty cool. I liked the mixture of all the different villains. Even as I record this, I still wish there was more content for Origins. If you've never played this because of the bad reputation it has online, I'd say you're missing out. Batman Arkham Origins is worth playing if you like the Arkham games, or even if you're just a Batman fan. It's honestly an enjoyable game even all these years later. I'm glad I finally got around to playing it.